democracy, and so I hope you might take time to come and sit in on this event. Everything has a history, all right, good. But historians should have something to say. That may not sound controversial to you, but historians have often been a little reticent to say something that mattered in society. But now that we've realized the importance of, let's say, somebody like Andrew Jackson and knowing when he lived in our society, historians should have something to say. And Grossman has something to say. So please join us for that conversation. So now, turning to today's big event, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Julie Mostoff, who is the Senior Vice Provost for Global Initiatives and Professor of Political Science at Drexel. She's the Director of the Office of International Programs. Dr. Mostoff's research specializes in studies in the politics of national identity, sovereignty, citizenship, and gender. She's a very accomplished scholar, and I can't begin to list all of her publications for you, but I'll tell you about her most recent book, Soft Borders. It's titled Soft Borders, Rethinking Sovereignty and Democracy, and it's based on her extensive knowledge and research of ethnic conflict in Southeastern Europe and the problems of citizens who find themselves trapped within the hard borders of what she calls ethnocratic states. It's a deeply researched, really exciting project. So somehow she managed, and I only seem to invite super busy people to speak in this series, and they somehow make time to do it. I'm really glad that she can be with us here today. And just on a personal level, to many people in this room, Julie is a friend and a colleague and a mentor, so we're just thrilled to have her here to talk about international programmings and global Drexel. So please join me in welcoming Julie Mostoff.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, and it's great to be here and to talk to everybody about Global Drexel. And even more exciting is that, Drexel, many people may not have thought about as a global university, a university that has deep roots in the international. But we actually have a real fact that helps us to make that connection here with us today, because we have over here a member of the Drexel family. And that is so important to us because we began, as so many things began in the United States, with an immigrant with a great idea. And this is this notion that crossing borders just enriches the lives of everyone and the people in both the place where the person came from and the place where the person came to. And so we're really excited. Thank you so much for being here. That's a great way to begin. However, given the fact that we had deep roots, global roots, from our founder, Anthony Drexel, Drexel did not really focus on international for a long time after that. In fact, like so many universities, we were focusing on building our own programs, on our domestic goals, on our local needs, and so on. And so really, for a long time, it was not part of the Drexel conversation. What we found out when I did the folks who were working on this project did a little bit of research for me, did find out that President Haggerty in 1965 was a member of the National Citizens Commission on International Cooperation, and Drexel was one of the early members of the Institute of International Education in New York in the early 60s. But having said that, it's really not until the 80s that we begin to see any sort of discussion around international at Drexel. And that happened with our English Language Center. So the English Language Center began, and it really happened before it was an English Language Center, when Greg Barnes, who was in the English department at that time, I can't even remember what it was called, he began to bring students over, and I believe that the first group was a group of Iranian students, bring them over for intensive English education. And out of that, they developed the English Language Center, and that was the first place that we actively recruited people from other countries to come here, although randomly students were coming from abroad, so that I have this little piece of information here, that by 1990, the English Language Center had 70 students, and there were 700 some international students at Drexel. Now, the majority of them were graduate students. So, when you think about the history of Drexel as an international institution, we had some really key moments. That sort of early beginning with the English Language Center was one. And another one was, as we began to recruit students from abroad, we ended up having a fantastic recruitment of the president of China's son to do his PhD. Now, how did that happen? Well, one of our amazing faculty members who was an emeritus professor of biomedical engineering, who died about 2 years ago, seems very alive to me, and that was Dr. Hun Sun, and he had been a schoolmate in 1946. He graduated, and he had been a schoolmate at Shanghai Jiaotong University in China with Jiang Zemin, who was former president of China. So they were in electrical engineering together, and had been really close friends. And then Dr. Sun, after graduating in 46, worked a year or so, and then prepared to go to graduate school in the United States. He left in 1948, right before the revolution, and he didn't go back for 60 years. But when Jiang Zemin decided to allow his son, this is after the Cultural Revolution, so he was a little older than a regular student, to come to the United States to get a PhD, he said, only one school, and that's going to be Drexel University, where his old buddy, Dr. Hun Sun, was. And so he said, that's the only place. So Mianheng Jiang, Chinese often go Jiang Mianheng, but okay, we're going to call him Mian. He's a great guy. You'll see a picture of him later. He came and got his PhD here, had a very good experience, and went back to become the president of the Shanghai branch of the Chinese Academy of Sciences eventually, and now president of a new university called Shanghai Tech, which is one of our partners, and you'll see lots of pictures. However, when after he was here, in order to honor Drexel and his former teachers, Jiang Zemin, when he came to the United States, actually came to Drexel University's campus. People are going, why is this president coming to Drexel, you know? And he came to honor Hong Song, and then he gave a honorary degree, honorary chair in Dr. Sun's name, and that went to Dr. Banu Honorald. Anybody know Dr. Honorald? So she was the head of biomedical engineering and one of our biggest global cheerleaders. So he was absolutely great. Anyway, as a result of that, that helped brand Drexel in China as an important university globally. And it really helped us when we decided that we were going to begin to develop programs in China. Okay, so for a long time after this early 90s, really Drexel did not do anything specifically as a university globally, except for, some really no effort was put into it, but there was some recruiting of international students. Basically, they weren't going out anywhere. Students were just coming to us, and basically they were grad students. So what was happening is that individual faculty members were doing their own research. And some people were doing research abroad. Not too many, but some were, or they had colleagues, they went to conferences and so on. And so I just have a couple fun pictures. One of the first things that happened was that we had a provost named Richard Astro. Did anybody ever have Dr. Astro? Okay, so you had him a baseball course? Yeah. Okay, there you go. Well, when Dr. Astro came as provost, it was the time in which there was the fall of the Soviet Union, the breakup of Yugoslavia. Things were really changing in Eastern Europe, and there were some resources for programs abroad. So he came from a university in Florida, and he came with some projects that he wanted somebody to continue. So he sort of just said openly, is there anybody who's interested in Eastern Europe? Well, it turns out I was. That's where a lot of my research was, as Dr. Knowles mentioned. So I said, I'll take over your projects. And they were in a country called Moldova. How many people know about Moldova here? Whoa, amazing. You know that, yeah. Okay, so, Moldova, most people have never been there. I hadn't been there, even though I was an expert on Southeastern Europe. I'd never been to Moldova, but it interested me because they had ethno-national struggles there, and they were trying to sort of, transition from a socialist country to a kind of social democracy. And they've had a hard road there. But anyway, I went there and took up some projects there that were funded by the ECA, which is called the Bureau of Educational Bureau for Cultural Exchange, or something like that, of the State Department. Now, in the meantime, I'd already done one international project. And that project, just by chance, as a political theorist, I had gotten involved in. And that was a project with the opening of Albania, which was one of the most closed countries in Europe. They had no embassies, no connections with other parts of the world. I think they had one consulate. And so they opened up, and through some friends and so on, I ended up in Tirana, and I met the people from the philosophy faculty. And I said, are you interested in political theory? And they said, oh my God, political theory? We never were allowed to study that. That was too dangerous, under the old system. And I said, yeah, people consider us dangerous under our system. So anyway, I got money from IREX, and I started a program in helping to develop political theory. And I brought my colleagues from all over the country to do a political theory project in Albania, which was great fun. And many, many years later, we were able to reunite that program and help with the opening of a political science department in Albania. So you never know what you're going to end up doing. But as a result of that experience in Albania, and then that experience in Moldova, I also did a fun project, and I'm just going to show you a picture of it. This is me a long time ago, frowning, in a village in Vojvodina, where actually we were able to get funding to bring women leaders from the former Yugoslav republics to, right at the point when they were beginning to break apart, to Philadelphia to meet women leaders here. It was so exciting, it was so much fun, and it was all within the Drexel embrace. And then they invited us back there. So we went all over the country, and I just have to show you because these are the beginnings of Global Drexel. So there we are. You can see some folks from, you can't even tell who's from Philly and who's from Vojvodina. Okay, these are all Vojvodina, yeah. And there we are with some young people in a cultural ethnic center in Montenegro. And they're a whole nother beginning of Global Drexel. Okay, so having done all of that, a bunch of us were saying, gee, it's a pity we don't do something more as a university, but we don't have an office. We had a small study abroad office which had 1.5 people. Okay, and that was for a program that I became head of, director of, which was called International Area Studies. Anybody know International Area Studies? Okay, a few people. And now it's called Global Studies at Drexel. But, so I became the director of that program. And as director of that program, I saw, wow, we don't have enough study abroad infrastructure. We don't have enough people going abroad, and Drexel doesn't have a central office. What are we going to do? So I got together with some people, and we started to write a white paper. And then we were very lucky that we got a new provost at that time, named Steve Director, who was an engineer from University of Michigan. And University of Michigan is very global in their programs in engineering. And he said to me, after he heard me talking about international area studies, would you create an Office of International Programs at Drexel? And I went, yay, sure. I have to finish a book though, you know? And so he looked at me, and being a good engineer, he said, okay, well, when's that gonna happen? Next week, you know? So every week he asked me when my book can be done. Finally, I got the galleys in, and I said, okay, I can do this. And he put it in the strategic plan for 2007, 2012. So for those of you who study management or anything like that, really important to get something that you want to get funded in the strategic plan. So we got it in there, and it was actually in the strategic plan. It said create the infrastructure to take advantage of the global opportunities today, available in the world today. And that's exactly what we did. And that's really the start of the Office of International Programs and Global Drexel. And that was, as I said, 2008 we really opened up that office and just began to grow with the support of faculty, staff, students across the university. But do you need me to be on mic here for the streaming or not?
No, I think that's good.
Oh, okay, fine. All right, I keep thinking about that, and you know, I usually move around a lot. So that's sort of the beginning. Now, when you begin something, you have to think about what is going to be our model. You know, you have to have procedures and policies and figure out how you're going to coordinate this and so on. And I remember President Papadakis said to me, well, you know, what is this office going to do? And I sat down and I sort of told him, I said, you know, we're going to coordinate, we're going to facilitate. And then he looked at me for a minute, he sort of thought, and he looked up and he said, okay, this is what the office is going to do. It's going to coordinate, it's going to facilitate, and it's going to build Global Drexel. And that was really an exciting moment, and we moved full speed ahead. Unfortunately, President Papadakis didn't live much longer after we began Global Drexel, but he was there for the beginning of it. Now, in my pictures, I think I have some of the very first things that we did. We tried to create opportunities for faculty, so we created international travel awards. We wanted to make sure that our faculty were visible, that the great research they were doing was seen abroad, and that they were connecting with researchers in other countries. We wanted to enhance study abroad, so we made exchange agreements with top universities in different parts of the world. We wanted to make sure that students on campus had a global experience, so we initiated two main programs which have continued today and of course have been amplified, and that is our annual conference on student challenges, on global challenges, student conference on global challenges, and to get students engaged in really taking up global challenges across their disciplines, and that was a great success. And then cross-country conversations on which students from domestic students and international students would come together to look at really highly charged issues. So one of our big hits in the beginning was death penalty and torture and so on from various different perspectives. Okay, so we were sort of, moving along. Our first trip was to China in 2008 to take Dr. Sun back to China to meet his family whom he hadn't seen in 60 years. You can imagine the tears at the airport, it was incredible. He was about 86 years old then. And it was fantastic. And Shanghai Jiaoteng really feted him in the most incredible way. It was so exciting. And we met the president there. We signed an agreement for collaboration. We met faculty and students. We met alumni who had been waiting for us, saying, where have you been? We missed you. You haven't come to see us. And we began to develop some really exciting programs. One of the most fun moments, however, was when the president of Shanghai Jiaoteng, who was an academician and high-standing physicist and so on, came in looking very serious into the room and had this huge big red present for Dr. Sun. He stood up there, he opened the big present. We're thinking, what is this? You know, some jade, some fantastic, I don't know, gift. What was it? Anybody want to guess? No guessing here. Wasn't a dragon, but there were a lot of dragons around, and they were so excited that we all had dragons on our business cards. So, and people were always asking me, and I said, oh, it's an ancient Austrian symbol, you know. I think maybe Eric told me that. No, it was Dr. Sun's transcript. With this picture on it. It was so funny. They put it in a big plexiglass frame. It was fantastic. Everybody was laughing. And, of course, we all wanted to know his grades. They did not give out the grades. Probably 4.0. Anyway, you can see sometimes when you have these international experiences, you know, here you think you're in a very different culture. But that gift showed, no, universities are the same everywhere. What better than to go through your archives, a librarian, and find that transcript from 1946 and provide it for us at that day. So that was our first visit, and we met Mian Heng Jiang and so on, and we promised, of course, that we would come back many times. Indeed, we did. So then the next trip, President Papadakis died, and as some of you know, Chuck Pannoni, how many people listen to Chuck Pannoni talk about his experience? Some of you. So Chuck Pannoni, who is a board president and many time over board member, and he stood in when Papadakis died, and Taki died really, you know, relatively suddenly for us, and he stepped in to be president. And then I had been planning our first delegation to Israel. Now, imagine my first delegation. I got the, you know, acting president, who's a board chair and, you know, big muck, and his wife, and he's never been to Israel, and he's traveled all over the world, but he hasn't been there, our provost, Dr. Greenberg at the time, and all these top faculty researchers, you know, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I've never done this before. And in any case, it turned out to be fabulous. Why? Because Chuck Pannoni was a real dragon, and he had such great enthusiasm and spirit. And from the beginning, he insisted that we have breakfast together and dinner together. And that built the core of all of my further delegations, to have that kind of real collaboration and camaraderie, which makes a difference when you go abroad. So we went to the top universities there. We were well received because our researchers had such great names already that we leveraged upon the research and the reputation of our faculty. And that became one of the major points of our model of international collaboration. We weren't well known, we didn't have a brand, we weren't top 10 university, but we had faculty with great research, and we had a reputation of being an outstanding educator of engineers. So we built on that, and then the third leg of that stool, we had incredible alumni. And so we sort of looked for them, reached out, and began a new model of collaboration globally, which was a partnership model. Now, some of you might have heard that some universities have branches, you know, like NYU or Yale or something. They plop down in another country and they create a campus there. And that's great, you know, it's wonderful for their students and good for students in those areas. But what we were thinking was something very different. We were thinking to create a partnership model where we don't tell people how they should do education, but we gain from them, we learn from them. We say, let's work together to create synergies in education and in research. And so when President Fry came, he made this part of his inaugural address, international, together with civic engagement and academic excellence and the urban university. And so he totally embraced that partnership model, and we went full speed ahead in building Global Drexel with strong partners in targeted countries around the world. And that's why we've been, in a very short time, successful. And it's been so exciting to build those partnerships, to reach out to our alumni, to leverage our faculty research and strengths, and to really create a model that is collaborative. And I think it's been our success. And it's also created a lot of opportunities for students. So we increased our numbers exponentially in terms of students going abroad, students doing semester or quarter exchanges, and getting involved in research collaboration and in various different programs in co-ops as well. Then we started thinking, okay, we're doing all this, it's great, it's exciting, and so on, but still there are a lot of students at Drexel who are not able, because of the very complicated curriculum at Drexel, to go abroad, or because of price, because we want to make it as accessible as possible, but it's not always possible for students to go abroad and working and so on. So we did two new things. One, we created global classrooms, and so global classrooms, we could right now be connecting with our partners in another part of the world. So you can have, anybody take a global classroom here? Ah, you haven't taken one yet. Okay, we have over 50 of them in every discipline in which faculty are connecting with partners at our other universities abroad and then bringing the classes together virtually. So the students are talking to one another virtually, doing projects together, getting to know one another, and in some cases actually meeting face-to-face after that experience. But even if they don't, they've already made friends, they've already learned a lot, they've looked at the world from different perspectives without leaving town. So that was one. And then we added another program, the ICAs. That's intensive courses abroad, which are in the intersession. Anybody here go on one? We have a couple of leaders there who have taken students on ICAs. And that's a way to sort of, do it in that intensive part abroad and do prep work before or follow up after, or maybe even a course before the session abroad. But the idea is to use those short intersessions for very intense experience abroad. Anyway, that's helped us build that model and increase Global Drexel, and of course we want to continue more and more in that direction. Now, I'm going to just show you some pictures. I am not very good at I want to say a couple more things, and then I'm going to go to the pictures. I'm not very good at technology, and I thought it would be so easy for me to go into my files, find all these different pictures, pop them into a PowerPoint in order, and just give them to you. Of course, I couldn't figure out how to move them around, get them out of the order. Anyway, it was impossible. I spent hours making a mess, and then I just said, I'm just going to show you randomly some of the pictures I have, which just give you an idea of some of these moments in our history. And I promise that I will get some of our students and our staff to put them together in a really good form for archives here. But the other thing I wanted to mention is, remember I told you that President Fry, and I know you've heard from him, made one of the other pillars of his address and his inaugural address and his tenure here to make Drexel the most civically engaged university and to really see Drexel as a driver of socioeconomic change for the city. And indeed, the book that you were reading of Drexel's 125 years focuses on Drexel as an urban university. And so, since I'm also interested in those themes, I wanted to connect what we were doing. So Drexel became a major player in Philadelphia's drive to change its image as a sort of regional, local center to a global city. And so from the beginning, when we opened this office, we have worked closely with stakeholders across the city and in our neighborhood to make the global-local connection. And so we are a part of all of the efforts in the city, from the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia to the Interdependence Association, to Global Philly, to the, to the World Heritage City designation committees and so forth, across all these things, to the Counselor Corps, Global Drexel is a partner. So I serve on a number of the boards. We're spreading that to other members of our community. Some of the new faculty members, like Alan Greenberger, head of architecture, he was one of the people who helped make the designation of Philadelphia as a World Heritage City happen. And all of these things are part of that connection. So Drexel, when you talk with these city leaders and they talk about global Philadelphia, Drexel has played a major role in that. And I'm very excited about it, and that's going to continue with the history department, who is going to be part of the summit, launch, Anthropocene conference, campus, and so on, is also going to be at the same time a launch of a new thought leadership program led by Drexel for the World Heritage City designation program in our city, and it's going to be Philadelphia, the World Heritage City of Reuse and Reinvention. So that really takes together our global mission and our local mission to see Philadelphia as a real driver of socioeconomic development and cultural development in the city. Okay, now I'm just going to show you some fun things. One of our major partners is Universidad Católica in Santiago, and here's the president with one of the reasons that we have that fabulous collaboration, and that is Ignacio Sanchez, and he and Dan Shidlow, who's the dean of our medical school, actually did residency together in pulmonary pediatrics. So it's kind of fun to see that. Okay, let me see if I can move this. I'm going to move it really fast. This is at the University of Sao Paulo, where we have a partnership. And you can see a very diverse group with President Fry. We went there. It was very exciting, a whole delegation. But this is out of place completely. This was just this last April with Brian Blake and his wife, and once again, President Sanchez and Dan Shidlow and me, as we were at their home in Santiago. That's a real treat when the president of a university invites you to his home. Okay, this, however, is the very beginning of that relationship when President Fry and Dr. Sanchez first met. So I'm telling you, look how beautiful that room is there. There they are, chatting about collaboration. You'll see President Fry would love some of these pictures. There we are back again. Now, we've skipped completely. That's why I told you, these are going to be fun and random. Here we say Alan Sabinson and I and a group from the Westphal College of Media Arts and Design in China with the top design school in Beijing. And we created a partnership with them. There you see, this guy is one of the associate deans and the leader of the design school, and responsible for the color red in the Expo, World Expo Chinese Pavilion. Okay, there we are. One thing you're going to notice in all of these, I'm wearing the same dress. It's a little embarrassing, okay, because it's not the same country. Here we have in our presents, these were presents created by Westphal. Now, we've jumped back to Drexel, and these are colleagues from Hebrew University. We had a very strong research collaboration with them from that very beginning in biomedical engineering, and here they all are. Here are colleagues, two from biomed at Drexel, and one from Israel, and you can see here's Dr. Honorall, who's really our major cheerleader with our researchers from both Israel and Drexel. And then this is an early picture of some of our study abroad team. And so some of you may know Donnie Oscarelli, Marcia Hanish, and Haji Scheffler. Haji is responsible for our faculty-led programs. This is an old picture, but they still look the same. Okay. These were colleagues of ours who came from India. And here are colleagues of ours from China, from Wuhan University, and this is CCI when it was the iSchool, but same relationships with Dean Fensky. So we're really popping around here. I have to tell you, that's me, but I don't know. Here is my colleague, Elaine Delancey, who was probably one of the most important researchers on Sonia Sanchez, our poet laureate from Philadelphia. And Dr. Delancey unfortunately died. She was in the English department. But she met this guy at a conference from China, from Wuhan University, who became the first Chinese translator of Sonia Sanchez. And here he was talking about his work. He also translated Langston Hughes and really got involved with, sort of the black literature movement and so on, and had been a translator. And you never think about how exciting that work was, but in fact was very important in China. Here, out of place, I had to put her in here. Anu Jamera was my first administrative assistant when we began Global Drexel. She is responsible for all of the systems we developed in that first year and for creating the first annual student conference on global challenges. I found this picture in my records and had to have it in there. Okay, so again, these are colleagues from Dalian University of Science and Technology, China again. Here we see some first year that President Fry was there in China looking. And here we have the first meeting of President Fry and Mianheng Zhang, who, of course, as I said, now is president of Shanghai Tech University and a major supporter of us in China. Here's our group. You might see, this is, of course, in China. The most amazing thing is that you look at these mock-ups of a project, and then the next year it's built. We look at a mock-up here, and 20 years later, we hope we've got it, the funding for it. So this was always fun when we did these things, and you see us here. Okay, this lunch was very important because at this dinner, Dr. Zhang and President Fry proposed the idea of creating a joint center, what we called the SARI Center, Shanghai Advanced Research Institute, in China together. And that really stirred a huge amount of research collaboration. See how things happen over food often. Here we are with our partners at Shanghai Jiaotong University. Remember, that is our oldest collaborator there because of the relationship of Dr. Sun. And so you see, look how young President Fry looks. We won't tell him. There's he was the vice president then, now he's the president. So, okay, there we go. You see, these things are very ceremonial, all these signings. Look how beautiful this is. Now, I just had to keep this in here. This was Madame Ma, and she was the head of the Communist Party. She was the secretary of the Communist Party of Shanghai Jiaotong, and she hosted a lunch for us, and she really tried to get President Fry drunk. So it was a lot of fun, and we had a great time, and I kept looking at him across the table going, you don't have to drink it, But he was a great sport, and in fact, we ended up with great relationships, and she was very supportive. She and he got along very well, which was important, okay? This is Tsinghua University, the president of Tsinghua. Okay, Tsinghua is sometimes noted as the #1 university. He was the president, he's no longer. The #1 university in China. And President Fry had to get used to this very formal, settings each time. And the fact that he had to let that president speak first, So it was sort of, fun. There we are, signing again, lots of stuff. You see how much fun it is to see all these pictures. Everybody's having a good time. We're giving presents. They're giving presents, taking lots of pictures. Whoops. There's Dr. Wei Sung, also very instrumental. He has a visiting relationship in laboratory at Tsinghua, and he's also a professor here, named chair in mechanical engineering. Okay, you see we took too many pictures. Here's one of our fabulous alumni. She was the head of biomed at Tsinghua. And there we are going through. Oops, those are turned around. Okay, but we did a lot of other things. Some of you might have heard of the Dornsife Development Scholars Program in Africa, where we have partnered with World Vision, supported by the Dornsife family funds. And so here I am in Zambia with Dr. Shannon Marquez. Okay, this is again, all these great pictures. That was Sao Paulo on the beach. And here's some contemporary pictures of Shanghai Jiaotong. Close school, very important. Everybody's interested in entrepreneurship. And here was our last trip to Vietnam. Now, I want to get out of here. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. I just close that. Okay. And see if I can close this, because, whoops, where is that? How will I get back to my computer? Okay. So I want to just show you a couple other pictures because of the people who are here, if I can find them. Just one, oh, maybe here. Yeah, okay. Maybe this.
Yeah, that's just, those are the preloaded ones.
Oh, those are the preloaded. Okay, how do I get to that D? Here it is. Removable dish. Okay, are the Indian pictures here? Oh, they're not. Oh, wait.
Inside there?
Maybe. No, maybe what are these? No, those are not it. Okay, that's me and with pandas. Oh, too bad. Okay, I will put them available because what I wanted to show you were great pictures. Maybe they're in here. Of our recent trip with Dr. Knowles and Dr. Bhattacharya. We went to India together, fantastic program, but I don't think that it's going to pop up here. No, these are old India pictures, but let me just see. Also have some Korea in here. These are India with Dr. Linehan and me. Okay, Hero Motors, we went there, was a lot of fun. This is Shanghai Tech, the new university at Shanghai Tech. This is President Fry giving a convocation speech. Here's Shanghai Jiaotong. Here's a great opening of a nanofab center in Korea. These are Korean alumni. And I want to perhaps end with that, and then I'll go to questions. Look at all these alumni. 40 of them gave a big party for us in Korea, waiting for us. They have been, one of them graduated in '76. And they have a chapter there. Some were members of parliament, others were presidents of universities. They were incredible CEOs. One owned this restaurant where we had this huge dinner. It was so exciting. Everybody was crying, and we had a board member, Stan Silverman. It was one of those great moments. And there you go, back to the idea that if it weren't for our great faculty and our alumni, who are part of this family of Global Drexel, and going back to our roots, we would not be where we are, but we are. And we have a fantastic program with great opportunities like the trip to India, which is unforgettable. And those pictures will be in our annual report, but they'll be up in our archive because I want you all to see them. See us in India, we look great, having a fabulous time and really doing a lot with our partners at IIT Delhi and IIT Chennai, two of the top most distinguished universities in the whole country. Okay, questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have time for questions and discussion, so.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you told the evolution of how Drexel became international. And one thing I was always thinking about, which you didn't mention, is the student population itself.
Yes.
And I was wondering about that because you and I go quite a bit back, but not all the way back to the 50s and 40s. And I heard it was that Drexel was a sanctuary for people who could study here internationally, who might have been a little bit pink politically. Do you have any idea about that and how that contributed to our university becoming also more international?
Drexel was a school that was very open to international students, and it remains that. I couldn't find that data, and the data was really scattered about the numbers and when it went up and down. At one point, 10% of our student body was international, and it's about 14% now. And I should say, members of our athletic team are international students, and we've had great reception with our teams going abroad, which is very exciting. Did very well in China with our teams against their best teams and so on. Okay, not the pros, but but you're right. We have been always open to students from abroad, and I think we recognize that not only in our faculty, we have outstanding faculty members, some of whom did have to leave their countries and come to the United States to find refuge, who found a home, a welcome home, and then contributed significantly to our research and teaching endeavors. The same with our student body. Drexel is a very open and welcoming school to students from all over. And some of you might know when the travel ban was announced, Drexel immediately sent welcoming messages to all of our students. And we had, a number of different seminars and workshops to let students know that we were here for them, and really saw that the university is a place for exchange of ideas, of cultures, of different perspectives, and it's the most exciting place for people to come together and to build relationships. And of course, that's why we built that I think that's why the partnership model sat so well with us. So that's something, to discover. Now we have a large number of international students, and while we started with graduate students, our numbers of undergraduate have expanded. Our top countries that are China, India, Vietnam, Korea, but we have students from almost every continent. Not the poles, but yeah. Good question, thank you, Eric. Yeah. Other question? Mm-hmm.
What do you think would be different about Drexel today if there was no major focus on international studies?
Well, first of all, I think we would be outside the norm in a really sort of negative way. Because today, you can't think of a university without thinking about global interaction. Every university's website that you look at, sort of talks about it. Every student who comes on recruitment or accepted student stays and so on asks about those opportunities. Even if they don't take advantage of them, they know that that's something that is an opportunity they should have at college. Employers are looking at, students and professionals who can navigate today's world, who can spend time virtually working with a partner across the world or actually travel, who understand what the trends are globally in terms of commerce or in terms of culture. So we would be a sad place if we hadn't developed that. And I think that, we can always do more. And I think we will do more. The opportunities are growing. We always want the students to bring more opportunities to us. We are open to student ideas. We have an SGAB, Student Global Advisory Board. Anybody who's interested, get a hold of my office. And there are lots of opportunities. We do lunch and learns and all kinds of, lecture series. We try to build always together with our partners in the faculty, among the students, the alumni, and the staff. So that's a great question. Other questions? Yeah, Dr. Mo.
Thank you for showing the photographs, and it makes me excited and also somewhat tired when I see think of all the work you've done to make all of these meetings happen. There's a lot happening behind the scenes. I wonder maybe if you would share with us your top funniest story of traveling abroad with Drexel administrators.
Oh, wow, I can't get out all that dirty laundry. Whoa.
It was the second best story, maybe, I don't know. But,
There's so many great stories. I will say, some trips are more fun than others. Sort of depends upon the mix.
Universal.
The mix of people. And luckily, all of them have been good delegations. There have been some fun moments. For instance, I had a really, can't tell you what a wonderful rapport we had of the group with Dr. Knowles and Dr. Bhattacharya, and we went with our other colleagues, Sarah Steinberg and Dr. Slayton. We had such a fabulous time in India, and we discovered something about the hotel that we were staying in, which was called a Taj Club. It was part of the Taj Mahal chain, and was sort of like the junior version, and it was great though. And they had this unbelievable message on the television flat screen. Every time you walk in the room, you put your card in you put your room card in this electronic holder when you walk in the room, and then all of a sudden the TV would be on, it would go, Taj. It's the feeling, close your eyes and imagine the feeling of the Taj. We were laughing hysterically. It's like kids in church, where you're not supposed to be saying anything, and we just couldn't stop it. We'd look at one another and we would say, Taj. And even today, when you said that, the first thing I thought of was the Taj. So sometimes, these are such, I tell this now, you say, what a dumb joke, but you get it, right? It's fun. And this is what happens when you travel together, and of course it's what happens when our students travel together. I imagine that talk about that that's what happens when you take a group of athletes abroad, or when you've taken a group of students abroad. You know that there's that sort of synergy that happens, and sometimes these things that, involve. Another funny story, and I can tell because he has a good sense of humor. So, anybody know Dr. Greenberg, Provost Greenberg? You haven't taken his Blake seminar, okay? Well, he has a great sense of humor. But, sometimes people forget certain things when they're traveling. And we went to the West Bank to go to Al-Quds, which is an Arab university in the West Bank, a great university, and we went there. And also to experience what it means to go across, sort of this wall in the middle of the city and so on, and to really get what that means and to understand the complexity of that. Okay, so we go to this university, and I just assume that all my global travelers, provosts and researchers and so on, know to bring their passports with them. So when we come back out of the West Bank into Jerusalem, the Israeli part in Jerusalem, they ask us, and they're very strict. I felt like Mossad from one of those TV shows was going to sort of, check everything in our car. And so they said, passports. And I'm collecting everybody's passport, getting it. Dr. Greenberg left his in the hotel room, So we were laughing because we were all saying, well, we just have to leave him. I said, well, President Benoni, what do you want to do? And he goes, we leave him over here, and so on. And so we were laughing, and, finally the guard broke a little smile, and he said, look at Dr. Greenberg, And so we said, you can let him in. And then he said, who's going to vouch for him? And we're all going, whoa. And then, President Benoni stood up and said, I'll vouch for him, and so on. And so anyway, we got through. But was one of those great stories because, of course, one of the things we always tell all our students when you're traveling is keep your passport with you. Make a copy of it. Leave that in the room, but have that passport with you. So anyway, that's a good story. I'm sure you have some too from when you went to the World's Fair. You were one of our first ICAs when you took the students to the World Fair, and then we had that course with Richardson Dilworth on cities and environment. It was Shanghai Jiao Tong. So.
Students who haven't done one of those, please try to make time in your course of study. One thing about Drexel students is study abroad. A lot of universities are semester systems, so study abroad is something you can plug in. We run pretty fast here at Drexel, and it's often hard for students to make time. It's extremely difficult to plan to study to co-op to do a study abroad experience. And so the intensive courses abroad are structured so that you take a course and the course culminates. Sometimes it's built around a course, sometimes it's just the experience, and they're usually a week to 2 weeks long, and so you can fit it in. I will say they tend to be, whereas a study abroad program might have a lot of wine drinking and swimming and some courses you might take. I'm talking about a traditional one, right? The ICAs are really intense. They're sort of, on all day, every day, but the students come back, and my experience, and colleagues have always said, you've done that.
The data is great. For people who like data, great.
Defining
Jonathan,
experience.
how many have you done so far? 2. Good experience?
Oh, yeah. I'll do another one next year, so.
Great.
Take
Fantastic.
students to Venice.
I've done the Florence, I've done the Rome and Venice.
Johnny's taking students to
And Gabriella, have you taken yours yet, or you're going to?
Still loving that.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Debbie,
If I may just jump in and ask a few questions, so because of one of the questions that came, I work with my students and we use the Drexel archives, the medical archives, both at Queen Lane and here. And what I found as I was working is in the 1920s, there was a spurt of female doctors who were coming for training to Drexel from India, and then it of course went down, and I at some point wanted to go and look into it, but then I wanted to ask you to and there are people who are doing research on women and medicine in India often come to use the archive, there are very few people. So there is that I would like to at some point explore, but I just wanted you to share of the experience of students. And I saw my students get transformed as I was on the trip, but you probably are sitting on a wealth of stories. If you can share 1 or 2 stories about some of the best students' responses you've gotten in each one.
Oh, absolutely. I have such incredible stories of students who, for instance, when I really, you saw this picture of those women up there at the very beginning. so then I went to Moldova to have this project, and I thought, well, I have to send a co-op student there, and one of my students in IAS, Connie Steele, you know, and I said to her, Connie, how would you like to go to Moldova, you know, and she said, yay, you know, where is it? And anyway, she went. She spent 6 months there helping us develop our program, and at that time the electricity was not good. Often at 5 o'clock everything was dark because electricity was going off and on. It was cold. You could have seen pictures of me if you could have taken a photo in the dark of these, you know, sitting and interviewing people with my coat on and so on. And that just transformed her in her own experience and her language study, her life study, and what she decided to do in her life. A lot of people along the line, you know, along the history, have decided really to change their careers because of being involved in one of these programs. But we also had some great experiences of taking people there. For instance, I took Dr. Ostrich and Dr. Dilworth to Albania. They went there, not with me, I sent them there to teach political science when we were trying to develop political science. And both of them ended up writing articles and learning a lot from that experience. I think you can't end up going abroad. We had a great experience of our folks, for instance, from the city of Philadelphia, who went to Montenegro, and we were meeting with some justices there, and they had heard about one of the people in our group who was the head of the Women's Law Project in Philadelphia and had created a whole new system of review of sexual assaults in the city. And so he came back, and then he said, she came back and she said, I'm going to bring her to talk to all of our justices and our police. And so, you know, she did, and then, and as a result of that, they actually changed some of their laws. So, so we had some really interesting experiences like that, and some really funny ones, you know, where we make a lot of assumptions, they make a lot of assumptions, we come together and we sort of see that we have a lot more commonalities than we have differences. So, yeah.
So unfortunately, we have to come to a close.
Great, I will try to put some pictures up, all of them, on our website, so you can go and look for links of more of them.
Let's thank Dr. Mostow. Next week is the walking tour, so don't meet here, meet in front of main building at noon, okay? And we're a comfortable shoot. We're not going to go that far.
Danuta, thanks for coming.